Welcome to another tutorial by VideoExcel. In this tutorial we will create a graph and explore possible ways on how we can format that graph. So say for example we have some data, and let's go ahead and highlight that. We'll go ahead and insert. Chances are when you insert a graph in Excel, it's probably gonna look up like this. So first thing, if I wanted to go ahead and change the color of these bars, I can right click, go to fill, and then choose the color that I want. Great. But what if I wanted to change the color of each individual column? Well, for that, there are two ways to do that. The difficult way is to select all of the bar charts, actually the columns, and then click on a single column to isolate it. Right click, fill, and you can choose a different color for it. Well, that's great, but say if you have 10 or maybe even 20 of these, it's going to take you forever to do that. A more easier way to do this is, let me just go ahead and undo this. I'll select all of the vertical bars, and then I would right click, go to Format Data Series, go to my fill options, and then just check on this option that says Vary Color by Points, and Excel will randomly assign a color to each of the category. Now, ideally for this type of data, I will not do this because it only confuses the reader. But the point here is that I want to show you the functionality of Excel on what you can do with the color options. You can also invert if the value is negative, and then you can also go ahead and play around with the borders. You can change the transparency level. Say, for example, if I wanted to have like a solid border, say black is fine, I'll turn up the width so that you can see, and then you can change the compound type to double lines or a single line, and then also if you want to have dotted lines or a solid line. So you can change all these options. Now in this case, I'll just go ahead and click on no borders. Alright, so let's move on. Next we have the effects option. So in the effects option, we can go ahead and create a shadow for these bars, and we can also go ahead and change the color of the shadow if we want to. We just got to make sure that we select these columns first, and then say maybe like a reddish shadow with a little bit less transparency. We can play with the size, how much blur do we want, and the angle of the shadow. We can also change that, and the distance from the object. We can also play with that. Anyways, for my charts, I ideally don't do this because I like plain and simple charts. Those are the ones that convey the most meaning. But the idea here is that, you know, we have these options. You can play around with them. You can also add a glow effect to your chart, and then also play around with the soft edges. So if you say like have maybe like a small soft edge right here, something like this, like a neon graph or something like that. I can't think of any practical use of this graph the way it looks right now, but but you guys might have a different requirement. So anyways, moving on to our series option. Now in this, so let me go ahead and actually turn the preset to none for the glow and the shadow, and also for soft edges. But let's go to the series option. Now in the series options section, we can control the width of these bars. So say for example, if I wanted to have no gaps between the bars, I could change the gap width to 0. And then if I wanted to make the bar size smaller, I could change that. I can scale it all the way up to 500%. And I think that's the maximum limit. So you can play around with these options and then see what's the best use and the best requirement for your graph.